Just when you think you have a handle on what somebody does for a living, something jumps out and surprises you. In this week's video, you're going to get 4 of those surprises. Stay tuned. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Carol Chenot. If you're new here, so glad you joined us. Fun to Know with Carol is here weekly with a different topic every week that helps you connect with your curiosity. We have 4 great jobs that we're going to be looking at today that hopefully will surprise you in some aspect. So let's get started. It never hurts to start out with a steaming cup of really good coffee. And if it's at a small local shop, that's even better. Our first stop today is Quintessa Coffee Roasters in Oceano, California. And we got to talk with the man behind the selection of beans, Jack Quint. Jack and his wife Jill have had this family-run business in the community since 2018. And I wanted to find out from him what it's like to have coffee roaster as your title.
Of actually physically roasting the coffee, what got me really interested in this profession is sourcing different coffee beans. So when I started to learn about what types of beans come from different countries, I started to learn a heck of a lot about how different civilizations around the world have historically harvested and processed their coffee, which to me was really fascinating. Ethiopia does it one way, Indonesia does it another, and you get wildly different coffees out of these regions. So, as a big part of what I do is sourcing our green coffee before I buy it. So I am constantly looking at what types of coffee are in season, when are the harvest dates, when are the shipment dates, when is coffee going to be available in America, so that I'm making sure that I can keep things really fresh. A big part of that is quality control. So before I buy a big pallet of beans, I get samples from, I'll get say 7 samples from Brazil, and I'll roast them on a very small scale, just 50 grams at a time, and I will actually go through and taste them all and make sure that the one I buy is really what is going to best suit Quintessa. What surprises a lot of people is that we don't use the same bean all the time. So if you order our espresso, month to month, there's actually different coffees that make up that espresso blend. My job is to keep it really consistent, so most people don't realize, they don't notice. But because coffee is seasonal, there's always different types of beans going into our various blends.
Well, that's just fascinating. I don't know about you, but I'll definitely appreciate what goes into my next cup of coffee just a little bit more. Thanks, Jack. Our next familiar job may be one that you thought you knew all about because you see them around. But as you know, I'm easily fascinated. I always wondered about traffic control workers. So I saw my perfect opening one day. Vincent was directing traffic around construction at a shopping center, so I stopped and chatted with him. He told me that the surprising thing about his job is probably how dangerous it is. A flagger has one of the most hazardous jobs on the road, and they have to be constantly alert, which is hard to do when you also have to keep your body moving so it doesn't go numb. Those are Vincent's words. This led me to investigate a bit more about other memorable traffic control workers, and I got to discover the story of Arleen Guzzie. What an inspiration in how she carried out her job. She directed traffic along Highway 1 around Big Sur. And when the asphalt started to crack, she was the first to warn her supervisors that a slide was coming. Today, that mudslide bears her name, Arleen's Slide. But to me, that's not the most notable part of Arleen's life. As a traffic control engineer, she could have taken this very hazardous job and toughed it out for the length of her career. But instead, she carried it out with flair and positivity. The residents of the area all knew Arleen as she led them through during tough times. I've linked an article in the description box if you'd like to read more about this remarkable woman. Arleen Guzzie was actually from my hometown, so we're keeping the stories very local in this episode. Moving on down the road, I decided to talk with someone who I know has a lot of misconceptions thrown at him about his job. No matter what your religious affiliation, it would just be fun to know Jason Whalen, who is the senior pastor at my church. And perhaps you'll even hear something you didn't know about this often misunderstood job. So there are a lot of preconceived ideas, I'm sure,
Yeah.
about being a minister. Tell me how long you've been in ministry, Jason.
I've been a pastor since 1998 and a senior pastor since 2008,
Okay.
January, yeah.
Okay, so 12, 13
Yeah.
years
Yeah.
as a senior pastor.
Yeah.
And what do you think is one of the biggest surprises that people might be surprised to know about being a pastor of a pretty large church?
Probably the misconception would be how great it is to be in the top spot because you get to have your way all the time.
Okay.
And that turns out to not be the case for good reason. I mean, the challenge for me has always been to really empower my team to be all that they can be in my job. My sense of what my role is with regard to my teammates is to serve them and not be served by them. Some people would get into this role, they like the power that it has, and people, you walk around town and a lot of people know who I am, and there's some notoriety with that, but the real sense of calling is, how am I making them better? How am I advocating for them before our leadership team, our elder team, before the congregation? I always wondered, what it would be like to be in the corner office and have, get to do all the preaching and have everyone kind of know. And when you're there, when you walk in a room, everyone's like, oh, he's here. Right? It really isn't like that once you're there. It's a sense of deep responsibility, how you're empowering other people, how you're giving yourself away, and honoring and glorifying God by blessing others.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Is it lonely at the top?
It is. Yeah. One of the challenges for me personally is friendships. So what does a friendship look like? Are you friends because I'm Jason or because I'm Pastor Jason, the senior pastor at Grace Bible? So, because you get people that nestle up alongside and, hey, come over, and hey, I want to get some time with you, and
let me bend your ear while you're here.
You're not exactly sure why, but if they're glad to see you, whether it's because of your job or because of you, there's worse things in the world than that.
Yeah, exactly.
So
let me close with just one question, and that is, what would you say has been the most fun thing in the last, say, 3 years?
This is going to sound really hyper-spiritual, and I don't mean it to be, but at the bottom line of what I get to do is I'm passionate about studying and knowing the scriptures, the Bible. And I get to spend a lot of time, and I'm getting paid to discover what God has said and to share it with people. And when you see it sinking in and taking root and growing, I mean, that's about as good as it gets.
Our fourth surprising stop is at Exfoliate Skin and Spa to visit esthetician Jen Moore. My beautiful friend Jen did a total about-face in her career and decided to embrace what she's always loved, skincare. The bottom line surprise and misconception should really not be a surprise, but it still is. And that is that many people still believe that professional skincare is fluff and not a treatment to keep skin healthy. Since our skin is our largest organ, it only makes sense for us to take the best care possible. Not that estheticians are trying to make 50-year-olds look 20, just a whole lot healthier. When I talked with Jen, she let me know that COVID gave her a chance to continue her education, which was to stay up to date on regulations. Speaking of which, each state has their own. Some states, like Florida, don't have any regulation at all for estheticians. Others, like California, are highly regulated with the Board of Cosmetology. If you're thinking your local esthetician might give you a little Botox injection or laser treatment, probably not, at least not in California. That's not in their scope. But keeping tabs on what looks healthy or not on your skin, that's right up their alley. Another surprise for Jen herself was just how wildly successful her business has become as she's grown. So much so that she's had to focus on her core strengths and hire business help for the rest. That's such a great strategy. Check out this playlist I've made of people and places I care about, and we'll see you in the next video.